Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Paul Hall, 10th Man, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Hello, hello.
Well, that was about as enthusiastic as it gets for a start.
Good morning, hello, Nathan. How are you doing?
Hello, Nathan. Oh, it's so good, so nice. Thank you. You're all here for me. Thank you. Any signs of a physical Earth curve edge horizon?
Formerly known as.
I said Earth curve in it this time, so formerly known as Earth curve.
Oh, okay, yeah, not from Camarillo Airport.
Is that where all the boats used to go?
That's right, that's where the boats used to go over. Earth curve, right, formerly known as the geometric horizon also, in their model.
No sign.
No? Nobody? Anybody? A load of people in Discord that haven't taken off mute, so I should really do that now. Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No signs, no evidence. They keep saying the Earth is rotating until you pin them on it, and then they say 15 degrees, so it's rotating, right?
Yeah, they just miss off the other bit. We discussed this in the pre-show, so yeah, 15 degrees. What of what? Well, of the Earth rotating beneath an inertial frame of reference. That would be the frame of reference that planes, bullets, balls, drones, helicopters, hot air balloons, birds, they're all in the inertial reference frame, and the 15 degrees an hour would be the Earth rotating underneath according to their claim with the gyro or pendulum. They just don't say of the Earth rotating underneath, because as soon as you say that, people would go, hang on, if Earth's rotating under planes, that would shorten flight times, as we point out here at nausea. Let's not hash this out for an hour, because it was on QE yesterday in the last two shows. So, any evidence of the distance to the sun?
It's over there, but the distance, no one knows the distance.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
No scientific evidence of gravity. They made up the word. It's a to-go word to get them out of any bind that they're ever in.
What is gravity?
That's a good question.
Good question, Neil.
Anyway, any scientific evidence of whatever the hell it is?
Well, what did they say it is? What's it supposed to be doing, Neil?
I think it's supposed to be bending something in space. I don't know. I think it's two big things attracted to each other.
That's two completely different things, though, isn't it, Neil?
Yeah, so I don't know which one. I mean, tell me which one I
need
to believe in.
Both pseudoscience.
Oh, okay. So, relative density?
Density. You don't need the relative bit unless you've got something pushed into disequilibrium, i.e. you're explaining how a mic drops, then you might need the relative bit.
Yes. Like I just dropped my pencil.
Yeah, more dense
than
the air.
Didn't. That's gravity. That's gravity. That's not you.
What's gravity again?
Neil dropping his pencil.
It was fine in my little pencil holder. It wasn't bothering anybody there.
Fascinating stuff.
But they only have to have gravity because they have to believe in a sphere with 70+% of what's on the sphere, water, being able to stay on the sphere. So they got to make up some pseudo force to keep all the water from flying out into space, dare I say it. Oh, by the way, it's turning or rotating 1,000 miles an hour in the middle of the sphere. And so they need some kind of force to keep everything velcroed.
Arwin incoming in. Oh no, just a little hair late. Hey, Arwin.
Hello. Afternoon.
Hey, Armin.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No, they don't work on that level.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Another fairy tale.
Flat Earth debate intro.
Apart from in my intro.
It's in my son's homeschooling books.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth? Anybody at all? Textbooks and intros don't count.
Any ballers in Discord want to step up on that one?
I don't think there is.
Volcanoes prove it.
Volcanoes have got nothing to do with the centre of the Earth, even in the heliocentric rhetoric. That's not what causes or gives you the volcanic lava. Even in their rhetoric, right, they've got plate boundaries and the frictions causing these little pools on the ring of fire where all these plate boundaries are. It's the friction at the surface level, at crust level, according to their rhetoric, that causes volcanoes. And I'm not saying that is or isn't what causes volcanoes. I've no idea if we've even got tectonic plates. Nevertheless, that's what they say causes volcanoes. It's not because there's a little channel down to the centre of the Earth, 3,000 miles down or something stupid.
I was told to use my mind. If it's lava's coming out and it's hot, it's got to be coming from somewhere.
Yeah, from tectonic activity as opposed to the centre of the presupposed ball Earth. According to them, again, I'm not confirming that that's what is actually happening. Like I say, I don't even know if plates are real.
But let me get this straight. So they're suggesting there is this friction, right? Well, friction would imply motion, so it can't really be friction. It would rather be like plate pressure. It's like rubbing off and pressurizing. And does that cause rock to melt?
I don't
Pressure?
know. I don't know.
I've never heard of that. Like, I know there's all kinds of things you can do with rock, but just heating it just by pressure, I've never heard of that. There's always some kind of electricity or fire involved.
Just for the chat, I'm not confirming or denying plate tectonics. I don't know if that is correct or not. I know their rhetoric. Or you could say I understand it, but do I confirm or deny it? No, I have no idea of plate tectonics. I'm not a geologist.
I'm just wondering if the people that are aware the Earth is not a globe, that have all the data, that have the original tests or whatever they did, if they even got as far as to figure out what really causes lava.
Probably not. That's why I'm saying, that's why I keep peppering this with, look, I'm not saying this is the case just because I can parrot it off a book. I'm saying that is just their version of what they claim is the events that lead to a volcano based on, like I say, where you've got lots of volcanoes on what they map out and call the Ring of Fire.
Right.
At all these plate boundaries. But are plates real? I don't know. Maybe. Could be. Are they not real? Are they fake? Maybe. I don't know. Could be. Moving on. Any evidence of the R value? Earth radius.
No, Black Swan took care of that.
Black Swan.
Yeah, at best we disproved the exact nature of R.
At best, we debunked the radius, eh? The fundamental premise of their religion. Right, last but by no means least, any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container for all the fundamentalist religious zealots who believe the sky is a vacuum?
No.
No, but if they try, they always come first with the gradient, then to gravity, and then it moves on to conceptual mediums. And then the whole argument is lost.
Well, they fall apart when they try to explain how it could happen. And when you say, can you demonstrate it? They can't. So, and even to demonstrate the vacuum, you need a container, and then they use some kind of a pump to take all the air out of it. But if you break down the walls of that container, all the air outside of it is going to get back in it. So in the reverse mode, it works. And in the other way, it works. You can't have any of this without a container.
That's funny that you say that, because we could choose to change the housekeeping question into any evidence of a vacuum without a container. It would be just as well.
Correct.
That's right. Good
That's
one.
right. Equally as applicable. Yeah, you can't have a vacuum without a container. Correct. However, the vacuum bit, the reason that isn't the way it's phrased is because, well, what vacuum? As soon as you start saying, how do you have a vacuum without a container, you're arguing about the vacuum, which is non-existent. We don't have a sky vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum. It's as simple as that. So how do we have the gas pressure? Well, we definitely have that bit, right? So let's start from there, because we definitely have gas pressure here. So how can we have that gas pressure that we're all breathing without the necessary antecedent of a container for it to press upon? As opposed to, how do you have a sky vacuum without a container?
Yeah, and then when we talked yesterday, as well as in the pre-show, how they say that the atmosphere is one and the same with their sphere, and it's all stuck together. They can't even prove that. I mean, that's impossible.
The newbies who've joined in the... Oh no, they've disappeared already. Fair enough. Easy E, hello. Can you hear us? I'm off mute, but we can't hear you. Wonderful. Nice to have you. We can't hear what you're saying, but wonderful all the same. I've got an issue with Discord because I can't hear anything from them. Can someone else in Discord say something?
I'm in Discord.
Oh, no, fine. It's just somebody not talking.
Come on, Easy. Get it together, Easy. You were live on chat yesterday.
Hello, hello.
Oh, there we go. You're really quiet, my friend. Can you get a bit closer to your mic or something?
Good afternoon. Hi, is that better?
Still can't quite hear you.
Is that better?
Getting there.
Oh, I'm using push to talk.
I don't think that makes any difference. You're just too far from your mic.
Very well.
Okay, well, this isn't going to be successful then, is it? Let's be honest.
No, ignore me. Ignore me.
Put some bass in your voice. Come on.
We can't hear you, mate. There's no point.
Went from easy E to difficulty real quick.
Difficulty. That's a good one.
There we go. QE Enigma. Hello. How you doing? Or Q Enigma.
No, nothing.
Where's Chocolate, by the way?
Don't know. Must be working or busy working because he's always working when he's on the show.
Right.
Hence all the background
maybe
noise.
another meeting or something.
Possibly. I don't know. I haven't spoken to Chocolate today. Hey, Righteous.
Hey.
Might have to kick a few of these people out when we get a full panel because none of them are talking.
Yeah. Just show up and take a spot, but no talkie.
Hey, Mole Man, can you hear us? Hello?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can. But I'm at shop, so.
But you what, sorry? I didn't quite catch that.
I'm in a store.
I had a baby.
He's in the
screaming.
store. He's in the
He's in the
shop.
store. Oh, he doesn't want to talk flat Earth with public around him. Fair enough. That figures.
Mm.
Gone
Oh,
the
can you hear
days.
me?
Yes, we can. Who's that? Star? Was it Stag something?
Lee. Hey, Nathan. I was your newest Yoda,
Oh, wow.
Kwasi Johnson.
Oh, cool. Thank
For
you for
like
joining.
maybe the show 1151.
Cool.
Man, I've been flat earther. I've been listening since you destroyed Mick West in his curve, quote unquote curve calculator. Hooked ever since, man. Love what you're doing.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Interesting how things progress, because at the time that seemed so critically important to get them to admit that they beg the question of R and just assume it. Obviously, since then, I think Ute has dug out a few other clips from the debate where people like Rumpus have also admitted it. But obviously, who's Rumpus? Who cares, right? Mick West, on the other hand, when you get him to admit, oh, well, yeah, we're just assuming R, it's just the standard model, that obviously is a slightly more important moment, or it seemed so. You fast forward a couple of years, and where are we now? Well, we've debunked R. So that seems a bit less relevant now, right? Well, who cares? Yeah, we've proved that they assumed it, but from then on in, they just admitted that they assumed it, and we ended up in a draw anyway. Well, we say with the assumption of R, because obviously we're on a sphere, we know. Then all of these extrapolations in the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking curve calculator apply, because I assume R. And you're like, how is that a defense? But that's how things rolled, didn't it? They just admitted that they just assumed R. Because they had to, they had no choice at that point. But now their assumption has been debunked. So it's like, yeah, assume it all you like. We can't say anymore, just round that out with one sentence. We can't say, in R you trust, because you can't trust in R anymore. We've debunked it.
They still managed to find a way to assume it. Even with the Black Swan, even with Coriolis thing, it's always spinning to begin with. Never with Zanuck going back and forth. It's always initially spinning. You're always on a spinning reference frame, no matter what you do. Same thing with the radius. It's always the delta X and not the X. Gas pressure. It's all the same MO with these guys.
Have gas pressure without container then, Nathan?
Pardon? Sorry, I had to refresh Discord.
Still don't understand how you can have gas pressure without a container then?
Show us.
What's your answer? What was that?
Sorry, mumble. Can you show us?
Yeah, we're atmosphere. Just look outside.
Sorry, without using your fundamentalist religious assertion that the sky is a vacuum, by begging the question that the sky is a vacuum. Beyond your religious belief, can you show us? Can you show us beyond your religious belief?
Measure it. There are all sorts of experiments showing there's a vacuum up there. Even
Experiments?
flatties.
Why you want to get
Even
into...
flatties have sent up balloons up there and it's shown to be a vacuum.
Okay, what experiment? What was it called?
Even flatties have sent up pressure detecting balloons and they found the pressure goes to almost zero.
That's
and
not
then
an experiment,
the
though, is
balloon
it?
can't get any higher.
Sorry, that's not an experiment, though, is it?
It's an observation.
So that's not an experiment, then, as you said earlier when you said there's experiments. You've gone on to detail something you're claiming as an observation.
I can argue it is an experiment because they've changed the height. So in other words, they've conducted
Height's not a variable. Height's not an independent variable. Shut up, you're a moron. Shut up. Height's not an independent variable, moron. Shut up. Height's not an independent variable, you stupid moron.
Of course it is, you twat.
No, it's not. Varying height doesn't cause anything. You're not going to establish the cause of something. The cause of that gas pressure wasn't your height. That's stupid, and it's not an independent variable. Varying height will not cause anything ever. This is not an experiment.
Change your height, the pressure changes.
Yeah, that's not a variable that's caused that change in pressure. It's not causing it.
The pressure you
That's a correlation. I'm not going to say this 16 times, right? Correlating you moving up and a change in pressure isn't the cause of the change in pressure. How many more bloody times have I got to say this? Number one, even if it was, this isn't an independent variable. Number two, it's not an experiment. We're not varying it to cause it.
What you measure as a
So it's not an experiment then. Just give me one concession. We're not doing an experiment, are we?
Well, if you want to talk about, if you had a grudge,
No, I want you to concede at least once, you pathetic weasel. You've just said when we do a measurement. You started off by saying when we do an experiment. Now you've changed, and I want you to concede that you've now changed your tune from experiment, making it sound like it's empirical. That's what you bastards do. You hijack this term, experiment, to make your bullshit sound plausible, to make it sound like it's empirical. But you've just gone on to say you're taking a measurement. Now, we won't be making a measurement of a second law of thermodynamics sky vacuum in this. That will be assumed. And it's not an experiment. You're not going to get away with utilising these scientific terms to lend credence to your bullshit. It's not an experiment, right, Rumpus?
observation is part of science.
Sorry, it's step one. Well, the last step in that process is experiment. This is not that.
You don't understand the science.
No, that's it. Bye-bye. Ad hom me. Piss off. I don't understand. I understand this isn't an experiment. It's just a measurement, as you've conceded. But because you're a globehead weasel and pathetic, you cannot actually concede that you've made a claim of science to lend credence to your bullshit. Now, you're never going to measure a vacuum of the sky. That's a second law of thermodynamics violation. Don't ad hom me that I don't understand when I'm detailing the fact that you don't have an experiment when you're claiming you have science. This isn't that. It's just a measurement, and you'll measure pressure decreasing, but you won't ever measure the sky vacuum. That's never going to occur. So not ever going to measure your claim that the sky is a vacuum. Only a pressure differential which you will extrapolate out and claim that based on that difference, lowering as you go higher, that there's going to be a sky vacuum eventually. No, that violates natural law. You can't have the gas pressure in the first instance without the container. Notice that also Rumpus came here and said, you don't understand how we do have gas pressure without a container. He didn't demonstrate it. He simply asserted his fundamentalist religious belief that the sky was a vacuum. That's what he did. Punted his religion here after saying that I don't understand. Well, I don't understand his religious rhetoric that he's going to chant at me by telling me the sky is a vacuum as proof that the sky is a vacuum. Is this your standard, fundies? Just say it and it's so? No. Just an assertion that the sky is a vacuum doesn't prove we've got a sky vacuum. An assertion that you've got experiments when you claim that you're going to measure a differential to extrapolate out a sky vacuum is definitely not science and definitely doesn't prove we've got a second law of thermodynamics violation right above our heads in the form of a sky vacuum.
So Rumpus is saying measurement is the cause now?
It's not. I went through that. He didn't concede that either. That's why he's been kicked out. I'm not going to spend 20 minutes trying to get one concession out of him when he's blatantly said, we can do experiments. And then when I say this isn't, he goes on to say it's an observation and refuses to concede that he's used a little magic trick to convince my audience that he's got empiricism with his bullshit. He hasn't. And he won't concede that, making him pathetic.
Hey Nathan, I got the ideal gas law on screen. Can you show me where height is a variable in gas pressure? Can you show me that from this equation?
PV equals nRT, right? Yeah, there it is.
Hey Nathan, you gotta entertain the Rumpus. He's been shown everywhere. He just like rumpusing. Nobody likes him anymore. Only you, Randy.
He's tolerable for a short period of time until he gets beaten, and then he's intolerable.
He's been horrible. He's been like horrible. The past few months, every time he jump in, everywhere I see him, he just doesn't have it anymore. He's not a people person. He's never been.
Got a bit of crap from QE the other day, Jose, for not being a reasonable moderator. However, I saw a trimmed out clip, not much to go on, by Emma and Emma UK, channel name, and in that clip you were extremely even-handed, I felt. So just want to give you props.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm trying to keep my cool. You know who's been very active lately is Rocky Alive. Sorry, I'm eating by that. Rocky Alive has been very active the past 2 weeks or so in in my chat, like hot, going on 10, 15 people. And I'm on his side as for, like, I'm not gonna just let one guy taking a beat from 10 other guys. So I'm right next to him. He's trying to keep our cool. He's a decent guy. I like Rakia.
Hey,
Yeah,
Jose,
very nice bloke.
Rumpus is suffering from post Black Swan traumatic syndrome, I think.
Sorry, Tent Man, you broke up a little bit from my end.
I said the nuances that you're seeing in Rumpus is caused by post-traumatic Black Swan syndrome.
Probably. You know, the thing is, from my point of view, that I'm not an expert, a debater, a very educated guy. I see the Rumpus, and if Nathan Oakley asked him a question, the Rumpus like say, "Yeah, I got the answer, and I got the scientific evidence." When I mean, from my point of view, what I have seen is that, for example, yourself, Nathan Oakley, you have the question formulated in a way that, uh, after me looking for this in a few years, I said, that's from my point of view a broken question. It could be a better formulated question. It's a little bit of a play of words that is going to be on your side. There's not going to be an answer for the Glober, but the Rumpus said, like, yes, I got the scientific evidence and I got the answer. So what you talking about, the Rumpus? Come on, that's my point of view.
What do you mean by that? You mean asking a legitimate question, can it be backed by true science, is not the right way to ask?
I'll give you an example. The one I just heard 5 minutes ago. Any evidence of a gas pressure next to I know I heard two words: the sky and vacuum. I say, so in the sky you got the vacuum space. So I mean, sorry. What is the sky? I need definition for the sky. And a vacuum. I don't believe there's a vacuum up there whatsoever. Hell no. I know there's people call it a vacuum, the term, but it's a very, very low pressure system. So I say zero pressure system or below zero will be a vacuum, but it's not a vacuum because it's just a very low pressure system.
You can't 10 to the minus 17.
Hold on. Just a couple of quick corrections. You can't have below zero.
Yeah, maybe you don't. So then you cannot have a vacuum will be zero pressure or less. So if we don't have less, we don't have a zero. 10 to the minus 17 torr is just a very low pressure system.
Okay, so if we compare it to one of those vacuums that they have where they've got 8-foot thick walls and they suck out all the air that's inside them, and they're trying to get as much as humanly possible out by the levels they go to contain the vacuum that they're producing. You ever seen one of those? 8-foot thick walls, big massive steel door that takes 3 people to open. You ever seen one of them?
Gigantic. I saw like 2 clips of those. Those are huge. Yeah.
You realise that you've seen them, right? Great. So you know that they're massive, great, big, thick containers. Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Well, inside one of those, the maximum, the most we've got to in terms of a torr value you can attribute to a vacuum would be 10 to the minus 8 torr on Earth in one of those chambers. But the sky is claimed to be 10 to the minus 17 torr, many orders of magnitude less particles in the space available. So on Earth, 10 to the minus 8 is the most we can achieve with really thick walls. Yet the sky, that's what, many orders of magnitude more? Seems farcical to just say, oh, it's just a lower pressure system. Well, what, lower than that vacuum that we can create with 6-foot thick walls? Orders of magnitude, less particulates, i.e. a stronger vacuum, if you want to phrase it in such a ham-handed way. More of a vacuum.
Yeah, I understand your point, and it's hard to put it in your brain, the explanation.
Sure.
Well, then,
hold on. I just want to round it out with a question. That massive chamber, when all the red sirens are going off and it's wow, 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 and they're depressurizing and everyone's all, looking at all the dials and the gauges and all the rest of it. Once it's depressurized and at 10 to the -8 torr, would you call that a lower pressure system in that vacuum chamber?
It can be called a vacuum. It can be called, the name doesn't matter. But and on the bigger scale, without details, it's considered a vacuum. You can see it like, oh yeah, that's like they suck all the air. But
I see.
did they claim it's a perfect vacuum as
I see.
you don't have any particulates?
I understand. So when it's on Earth and it's being created in something called a vacuum chamber, then we're all right to call that a vacuum as opposed to a lower pressure system. They've definitely evacuated all the gas, to as much an extent as they can, and we'd call that a vacuum. But when it's orders of magnitude more of a vacuum, i.e. what they claim the sky is, we'll just call that a lower pressure system, will we? It seems ludicrous. It's just a vacuum of the sky. But that was your objection initially.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit less, but orders of magnitude, it sounds like very big. It's within one degree is this 0.8, 0.9, 10 to the 0.17. You can have 10 to the negative, I don't know, 100 maybe, just making that shit up. But it's within one. It's in between one. It's like from 1 to 2 seconds, you can have 1.5 seconds, 1.51, 1.52. So if you got 1.5 seconds versus 1.67 seconds, orders of magnitude, it's a very tiny amount.
Do you know how magnitudes work? So when you're taking off 100th of a second or 1,000th of a second, that's one order of magnitude. From 100th to 1,000th, that's one order. Well, I'm saying it's many, many orders more than we can achieve on Earth in a vacuum chamber, but your objection is you're calling it a sky vacuum when it's just a lower pressure system, even though it's orders of magnitude more than we can achieve in a vacuum chamber.
I understand your point now more specifically. I just was addressing the people when they hear orders of magnitude, they say like, holy shit, people that is, still their brain is processing like me when I came to the flat earth and learned the globe through the flat earth eyes. Some of these details I heard, I said like, holy shit, this is big, like how didn't I realize these orders of magnitude of a vacuum up there when it's just a very tiny, I mean, it's just the amount is very small. Yeah, it's orders of magnitude, but it's not as dramatic as you make it sound.
Well, it doesn't exist. You started this by saying you don't believe the sky is a vacuum. I mean, it's not really that relevant what you believe. It's just their rhetoric. That's just the heliocentric rhetoric you, on occasion, choose to defend.
Jose, can I ask you a question?
Yeah. I got like 2 minutes. I gotta walk my dogs.
No,
I can come back for like 5
It'll
minutes.
Be real quick,
But I'll answer your
question.
Go ahead, 10th.
It's on topic. All right. You've seen that video of the railroad car container that's like an empty tank, and then they put a very nominal vacuum cleaner type of thing, and they take the air out and it collapses on itself. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have seen that. Yeah.
Okay. Now, do you realize that the so-called space shuttle and ISS and things like that, I think the ISS is the one I'm referring to, is like 3 really thin layers of aluminum, and where they're supposed to be would be greater than that nominal vacuum, and it's not collapsing on itself, versus that thing made out of steel on Earth with a nominal vacuum. Doesn't that give you pause?
No, not anymore. Just because I don't understand it, because I don't understand the materials or the work that have been going through it, the testing, I'm not going to just deny it.
Deny it? What do you mean, just deny it?
Deny the implications, what 10th man is trying to say. Like, do you see, like, if this happened on Earth, that means I'm going to just deny everything that I see on the skies, that there's no rockets, there's no devices, anything going very high up in the sky with very low pressure system, with the air getting thinner
and coming down again.
Air.
I wasn't asking you
hold
to
on.
deny
Can you
rockets
just let him
going
answer?
up somewhere.
Guys, go ahead, Jose.
No, that was it. I was done having a drink.
Yeah, there you go again, calling it a lower pressure system.
Yeah, I'll call it a vacuum for the audience entertainments.
But if it was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the space.
Yeah, if it was from like 14.7 psi to like a 10 to minus 17 torr divided by a freaking hard line. But it's in scales, the air getting thinner until it's as thin as 10 to the minus 17 torr in just very gradually. It's not going to go hard from one point to another.
No, that's a second law of thermodynamics violation. If there's a space for the gas to fill, the gas will fill it. That's its nature. Gas expands to fill the volume it has to fill. So it's not going to just dissipate into very little as you go higher. We're a tiny, tiny little dot, Earth, in the heliocentric system, in a massive, massive, massive vacuum, 10 to the minus 17 torr. So it's not that Earth, this tiny little speck of dust in an infinite soup of nothingness, that would be 10 to the minus 17 torr, as seen from the ground, our sky. Well, no, the gas would fill the space. The gas we have would just evacuate immediately from our little tiny speck of dot in the soup of nothingness. There's so much space to fill, the gas is just going to fill it instantly if it's at pressure. So therefore, the sky cannot be a vacuum. It can't just be slowly gradiated down to 10 to the minus 17 torr from our little tiny dot in this vacuum. That's not possible. That violates natural law.
Can I ask Jose some questions? Couple questions, Jose. You know what a microstate is?
I can listen for the next 5 minutes, but I cannot talk.
Determine gas pressure.
5 minutes, I cannot talk.
You can ask your question, Paul, but he's got to go and walk his dog, so he may not reply, but go ahead.
Okay. Jose, do you know what a microstate is? And also, do you know what the factors are that determine gas pressure?
He's walking his dogs.
Fair enough. We may not find out if he knows what a microstate is.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't.
I don't. What is a microstate? I mean, I've never heard this term. What do you mean by this microstate? What the hell is that, Paul?
Basically, within entropy, or second law of thermodynamics, gases or energy wants to fill all available locations. A microstate is like a location, basically. So gases and energy want to occupy all available volume. And what's the volume of the sky again? What's the microstates of the sky?
Enormous levels of microstates available to it in the sky vacuum, Paul.
Okay, so according to entropy, the gas would fill the space, increasing the entropy of the gas.
Well, they're asserting the opposite, though, aren't they? They're saying entropy isn't increasing. They're violating natural law by asserting that it just gradiates up to 10 to the minus 17 torr, because what the top of the gradient is, in your description, is a whole load of microstates available.
And also, within the gas law, height has nothing to do with the gas pressure. So for any of the other variables that are changed, then the pressure of the gas would change, correct?
Correct.
So density, the mass of the gas, all those factors would determine the pressure of the gas. Of course, if the volume's higher, that's the biggest factor, even in the gas law. The bigger the volume, the lower the pressure. So what's the volume of the sky again?
I don't have the number to hand. It's very big. According to them.
Density. You got density, temperature, and types of gases.
Exactly.
It's interesting how Jose took my question and changed it as to rockets not going up in space, which I never mentioned rockets in my question.
I think the reason he goes there because he understands the implications.
Yeah, but this is the trick of the ballers or anybody that isn't straightforward answering a question that was given very straightforward. My question had to do with a steel tanker that collapsed on itself. The walls of that tank are much thicker than what's supposed to be up there in the so-called vacuum of space.
Can I ask a question?
And yeah, go ahead.
What if that steel car was already in a vacuum? Not that it's, you know what I'm trying to say?
What if
No.
what if the steel container was at equal pressure on both sides of the container?
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
If what's causing the damage is the pressure of the particulates that are pressing on it, banging on it, if you like, smacking into it, yeah? And how much smacking's going on is how much pressure there is, how many times a particle hits that container. Well, if there's no particles involved, nothing's hitting it to crush it. So it doesn't matter if you've got, what did Jose call it earlier? A very low pressure system on both sides, or to put it another way, if it's in a vacuum, then that makes no difference to it because it's not got anything on one side trying to push out or on the other side trying to push in.
Okay.
Right. But the design of if I may for a second, the design of a gas tanker like that, though, is specifically designed to keep gas in, more pressure inside than on the outside. So,
No, I don't dispute that. But I'm just saying that if you haven't got a difference, the differential is what's going to cause the damage. So if you've got a box that isn't designed to contain gas pressure, or a balloon, far easier. You blow up a balloon, you're putting pressure in it, and it's forcing its way out as you put more breath into it, and therefore it expands the balloon because the pressure increases. Well, that's the gas forcing its way out as the pressure increases in the balloon, making the balloon bigger. It's putting more pressure on it. But it's the differential. So when you've got a balloon just in your hand and you haven't blown in it yet, the pressure on both sides of the balloon, inside and out, is identical. So it's not doing anything until you change one side of the pressure, cause a differential, and that'll blow up the balloon. Likewise, if it's the other way round, if you've got a box that's not very strong and you suck out all of the air, suddenly all of the gas that's on the outside of the box is bashing the box trying to get in, and that could crush the box. The point of all of this, the whole point of that is, if we're in a pressurized system, we're describing the former rather. So you're describing gas inside a container, bouncing off all the walls, trying to get out. Yeah? Now, if you've got no containment whatsoever to press upon to try and get out through, like a bottle at higher pressure in our environment, obviously still describing a differential, but if you've only got the pressure trying to get out from a container, then you can measure inside that container how much force is being exerted on the walls of the container. Well, in the case of the heliocentric religion, there isn't even a container. There's nothing to press upon. There's nothing to stop the gas fill in the space. And fill it must. It's natural law. So there's no container to keep the gas pressure here. Just a vast empty space for it to fill. And that's precisely what it would want to do. Occupy all available microstates, right, Paul?
Exactly. And hold on a second, let me turn this off. And the other thing too, if you think about it, if you reduce the temperature of the gas, how much pressure is involved? Sometimes, like if you put a balloon in a freezer, what happens to the balloon? It collapses because you're reducing the kinetic energy, so you have less pressure. So there's other factors involved that can reduce pressure, guys. Come on now.
Ultimately speaking, to have gas pressure, you must have a container. I'll use a quote from a chap on our opposing side called Conspiracy Cats. Quote, "Without the container, there can be no pressure." End quote. Conspiracy Cats, 2019. That's a fact. It's natural law. You can't have gas pressure without a container. And the sky has no containment between the gas we're breathing, that's definitely real, and their claim, not proven, just an assumption, that there's a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum above our heads. Hello, Quantum Eraser.
Will this make the Earth isolated system? Because the second law of thermodynamics will be working on an isolated system, right?
There are no isolated systems, Jose. That's merely a convention derived to describe the law in a more simplistic way.
That's fair enough. Thank you.
Can you tell us the difference between atmospheric pressure and gas pressure?
Also, I was going to ask Jose, where was that second
hold on,
law
Paul.
discovered?
Yeah,
Hold
I
on.
might.
Hold on.
I might.
Go on, Jose.
Air you breathe, atmospheric pressure, a mix of many different gases. Air is a
Wow,
gas that you
Jose's.
breathe, and atmospheric pressure is the atmospheric pressure is just a mix of all the gases.
But
Whatever.
sorry.
we
I mean,
believe
I'm
that.
just.
What's the difference between the two? The air I breathe is the same thing, right?
It's a gas, yeah, and then the mix of many gases. I mean, actually, it's a few gases that you breathe. So, all right, I'm not going to be able to define those two for you. All right, just you give me your point, and then I'll address you back. Or are you going to make fun of me because I cannot maybe define those two?
And it's not
Who
the
knows
defining;
what?
it's the difference between them. What's the difference?
Oh, I'm not sure. I didn't make that point. I'm just asking being asked a random question out of nowhere.
That's
So I
not a
don't have the
random
answer to that
question.
question.
It's not. Hold on
Fortunately.
a second. It's not a random question. Wait a second. You said that you're not going to be able to discuss that on your channel anymore. We have you recorded.
This
The
is today.
difference
This is
between
here, Huey.
I'm not done yet. The difference between atmospheric and gas pressure. You said that you're not going to have that anymore. We just went over this about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but this is today and now, Huey.
Oh, so it changes on the day. I got it.
Yes, we evolve every day. We're humans. We change
You
every single day.
evolve.
Yes, sir.
What's evolve mean?
That he's just dropped that into. He's baiting you.
I love it. Do you know the difference between open, closed, and isolated systems?
Yeah, I can give you a dumbed down answer. Isolated, there's no exchange of matter or energy. Closed system, there's only exchange of energy, not exchange of matter. And open system, there is exchange of matter and energy.
Not bad.
All right. What's the? I didn't hear that. Of course, you overtalked me the whole time. Is Earth an open, closed, or isolated system?
Well, last time I heard everybody is saying like, yeah, air is just an open system. Period. No more discussions. Also, like, I'm neither here or there. I don't care if Earth isn't open or closed. I know that rockets go out. I guess it's open. So I agree with them when they say it's an open system.
So how can you have gas pressure in an open system next to a vacuum?
There's no vacuum. It's a very low pressure system. It goes gradually getting thinner and thinner and lower until it's very low pressure system.
You don't know
what you call the vacuum.
Excuse me. These are defined. You have high vacuums, ultra high vacuums, extremely high vacuums, outer space. The high vacuum goes from 10 to the -3 torr to outer space at 10 to the -17 torr. So they're defined as vacuums. What are you talking about? Here, I'll show you.
I didn't know this. This arbitrary
I'll show you.
classification. Go ahead. It's
Right on
screen.
your alma mater wiki. Are you sharing this, Nathan?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Here, let me make it bigger. You see this? Goes from atmospheric pressure to low. You see this word? Vacuum, medium vacuum, high vacuum, ultra high vacuum, extremely high vacuum, outer space, and a perfect vacuum, which can't be reached. See?
So just for clarity, the most we can achieve here on Earth is a high vacuum, which is between 10 to the -3 and 10 to the -9. It's quite small. I might be misreading that. Is that correct?
No. 10 to the -6 torrs, Plumbrook Station, Sandusky, Ohio, with 8-foot thick walls.
That's 10 to the -6, did you say?
Yes.
And is that a high vacuum? It's just too small for me to read.
Yeah, it's high. Yeah, this is 10 to the -3 torr to 10 to the -9 torr for a high vacuum. Yes.
So to qualify it, when I say orders of magnitude, which Jose took objection to, you've got a high vacuum being the most you can achieve, which I was incorrect, not 10 to the -8, 10 to the -6. And then you've got ultra high vacuum, extremely high vacuum, and then outer space as the classifications between it. So more of a vacuum. So we can definitely call these things vacuums, and calling it the sky vacuum is perfectly accurate, given that that's what they claim is up there. It isn't, because the gas would fill that space. The gas we're breathing, we definitely have gas pressure. We wouldn't, though, if the sky was a vacuum. And, oh, well, they just call it outer space. It doesn't have vacuum after it. But a lesser vacuum would be an extremely high vacuum. So, yeah. Sky is not a vacuum.
Yeah. So, anything to say?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm back. I heard the last 1 minute a little bit. I had to like run close to the router to get my signal back.
No worries, I'll just summarise it in 30 seconds. So you said, no, it's a lower pressure system. Well, no, the lowest vacuum that you were happy to call a vacuum, even though they're all classified as vacuums, was a high vacuum. That's what we can achieve here on Earth. And then between that and outer space, you've got ultra high vacuum, extremely high vacuum, and then outer space above that. So when I say orders of magnitude and vacuum, I don't see why you've got an objection to that. Probably because it's just not real, but you've got to defend it anyway, maybe, because you're still a globehead.
No, yeah, not defending it. It's the way I really see it now. I can visualize it in my mind. I can think in a bigger scale, and I really can see it. I see it as dots, you know, all the dots like very thick. It looks solid on the ground where we breathe, and then it's getting less. Then you can see the dots getting separated, and the higher you go up through the layers, then you see less dots and dots until it's get just a few handful of dots. And then when you are looking outside, you can see this thick layer around the Earth, and then you see this random 1, 2, 3 dots. I can see it on my brain. I can visualize it in a scale. It's a personal decision to be able to see it or not. You know.
I see. So can you see? Just it's okay.
That
Just
makes no
hold on. Can you see my screen with Superman on it?
I had to close the internet because
okay, no worries. I got a screenshot.
Posted it in Discord.
I got a screenshot of Superman. It's just before he starts turning the world the wrong way, and in that screenshot, you've got all of these clouds, and then you've got this little layer on the geometric physical sphere edge horizon that's been debunked by the Black Swan. We've got that little layer there, and then we've got this black bit. Obviously, we've got the sun over here, but we've also got this black bit. And that black bit, next to this gas pressure here, is claimed to be 10 to the minus 17 torr. So here we are with gas pressure, and here we are with a sky vacuum. Now, I'm not saying that obviously this Superman screenshot is any less or more valid than the NASA pictures they give us. Let's face it, they're pretty much the same. But ultimately speaking, we've got 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum here and high pressure here. That seems like a natural law violation to me. I mean, I could be wrong.
Isn't science and earth and nature a hell of a drug? It's beautiful, right? How mysterious things work. I love it, man. I like it.
Not really.
We don't
That's deep.
Real quick.
But the thing
Hold
is,
on. We need to define what a vacuum is and define what differential pressure is.
Yeah, I don't have a dictionary, and I know that's your go, Paul. I appreciate that. I mean, it's good. People like, you know, doing this definition game. I can't. You guys know I can't. And if you want to just define this, I'm out of the conversation because
this definition game is called the Socratic method. Are you aware of that?
Sorry, you were speaking. You interrupted the middle of
Paul. Hold on. He said he doesn't know, and he knows your question, Paul. So that's your answer. He doesn't know how to define it. He hasn't got a dictionary. But now we're explaining why that's important. You've been asked if you understand what the Socratic method is, Jose. Have you heard that term before?
I heard the term. I don't know exactly, you know, I mean, what it is.
It's describing semantics, if you will.
Okay, yeah, understand. Yeah, this is a big part of this this discussion on the shape of the Earth, and that's why I never categorized me as a debater. I can engage in the little discussion back and forth, but when this definition, you know, define this, define that, I say like I'm gonna have to slightly step out because that's not my thing. I cannot.
Yeah, because you
words
like
mean things.
Like to make shit up.
Let me ask him just
Hold
one
on a
question.
second, Paul. Yeah, the Socratic method It's the method we use to get at truth so we can communicate. So everyone's on the same sheet of music. So when you're defining an apple, when you're talking about an apple, I'm not thinking about an orangutan because that is just common sense. We won't be able to communicate if we're off the sheet of music right from Jump Street. So Socrates,
off the top of my head, I got two definitions. There's a fruit and there's also a technological, company called Apple. Yeah, that's gonna be like really easy.
Jose, why are you over talking him? I don't get it.
Oh no, I gave a quick explanation, and I know that Apple used two things at least.
So bottom line, we use the Socratic method, especially in science, to keep people from making shit up. You follow? And let me ask you another question. Why? Do you understand?
Wasn't that a question? Means? Was a statement? Okay.
You understand what two-face means? You and your boys talk about Nathan and us over here like we're friggin' dogs. And then you come in here all happy and stuff, right? Like no problem, right?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's pretty funny, isn't it?
No, okay, I can answer that. I didn't come in to talk about these personal issues. I can try to talk a little bit about the topics on hands. There has to be questions. So that's what we're doing now. You want to talk about the drama, and then you want to say that I've been slandering you. I was talking, QE. You want to talk about the ballers being slandering you and insulting you when you are the one every time you go, Jose retard.
Get your ass back over to your retard channel.
You see, Nathan, that's what's up. He cannot allow a person to finish a statement when somebody is giving a fair point.
You're two-faced lowlife, dude. That has no science acumen or common sense to speak of.
And that's fair, Joe. You can do it, but then when other people try to insult you and call you names, I gotta stop and say, no, respect the gentleman. He's a very nice guy, yeah?
You're a gentleman. You're a moron.
Thank you.
Either don't necessarily exclude one another.
He might be recording.
No, I'm not recording this time.
Or not. Yeah, he probably is.
I'm not recording. I'm not interested in playing this.
Needs material.
I'm not
You've done it before.
Yeah, I did before because I had an idea what was going to happen. This time I was bored. I just wanted to come in and have a chat. But I think
you wouldn't know what
wants to run me out
and on your face, spun around and whistled Dixie. You don't even know.
Nathan, thank you for your time.
You're talking about a vacuum, right? And you're calling it a low pressure system because that's in your mind. Who gives a shit what's in your retard mind?
And with that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. If you are on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Massive thank you to all of you who liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a day! What a lovely day!